Today's lesson is over subtracting integers. However, before we get started with today's lesson, I think it is important that we review what we have learned up to this point. Numbers are positive or negative. Numbers to the right of 0 on the number line are positive numbers. These numbers are represented in blue on our screen. Numbers to the left of 0 on a number line are negative. These are the numbers represented in red. 0 is a neutral number, which means it is neither positive nor negative. A negative number must have a negative sign in front of it. However, a positive sign or a positive number may or may not have the positive sign in front of it. If there is no sign in front of a number, it means that the number is positive. An example is you might see the number 5. If you just see the number 5 with nothing before it, it means it is a positive 5. However, it is important to keep in mind that that a negative number must have a negative sign in front of it. We've also learned how to add integers. There are two rules when it comes to adding integers. The first is that when you have the same signs in your problem, you must add and keep the sign. An example of this would be -6 plus -12 equals -18. -6 and -12 have the same sign, so you simply add those together. 6 plus 12 is 18, and then the sign of the answer is negative because both of your numbers were negative. When you have different signs, you must subtract and keep the sign of the number with the bigger absolute value. An example of this would be -15 plus 8 equals -7. -15 and 8 have different signs, so you're going to subtract. 15 minus 8 equals 7. Your answer is a -7 because 15 has the bigger absolute value and is negative. So now, how do we subtract integers? We use a trick called keep, change, change. How does keep, change, change work? You're going to keep the first number in the problem as is. You're not going to do anything to it. Then you're going to change the subtraction sign to an addition sign. And finally, change the sign of the second number in the problem. After you've completed this, you're just going to follow your addition rules to come up with your answer. An example of this would be -18 minus 22. You're going to keep your -18, change your subtraction sign to an addition sign, and change your +22 to a -22. Now your signs are the same, so we add, and we get 40, and then our answer is negative because both of our numbers are negative. Here are some more examples. 10 minus 5 changes to 10 plus a -5, which equals 5. 10 minus a -5 changes to 10 plus 5, which equals 15. -10 minus 5 changes to -10 plus -5, which equals -15. And -10 minus a -5 equals -10 plus 5 when changed, which in turn equals 5. One thing you may have noticed while looking at these problems is that when we subtract a negative number, you actually end up adding a positive number. This is a concept that can be kind of confusing for people to understand. So I've come up with a couple of examples that may help you understand better what is going on. In order to explain why when you subtract a negative number, you are actually adding a positive, I want us to consider a basket that has balloons filled with helium on top and weights on the bottom. The helium-filled balloons are going to represent positive numbers, and the weights on the bottom of our basket are going to represent negative numbers. Let's take a look at adding and subtracting positive numbers with our basket. When you add balloons or adding positive value, your answer is going to get pulled up, which makes sense. You have more helium pulling your basket up. However, when you take away a balloon, you are subtracting a positive value, or when you take away a balloon, naturally your basket is going to sink down. It's moving in a negative direction. These two examples are obvious. It's exactly what you've been doing since you were young. But let's see what happens when we add and subtract negative numbers. When you add weights or adding negative value, the basket is going to get pulled downwards because there is more weight. So when you add negative numbers, your answer is going to become more negative. But when you take away a weight, you're taking away negative or subtracting a negative value, your basket is going to get pulled upward because you're getting rid of some of the weight. You are actually making it more positive. And this is why when you subtract a negative, you are actually adding. This is a great visual to help you understand if this is a concept you're having difficulty understanding. If you don't like the example of the balloons, basket, and weights, I have a common sense explanation. I actually prefer to call this the double negative example. If I tell a dog to eat, I'm encouraging the dog to eat its food. However, if I say do not eat, I am telling the dog not to eat its food. If I say do not eat or don't not eat, I'm telling the dog to eat its food. I don't want it to not eat. Okay? So the double negative makes it a positive. Another thing I commonly hear in my classroom is I wasn't doing nothing. Well, if you weren't doing nothing, then you had to have been doing something. So that double negative applies not only in English, but also in math. A double negative makes a positive. That is today's lesson. I hope you guys all learned a lot and enjoyed what I had to say and hopefully took something awesome from it. Thank you.